What are the tools of personal branding? Colors, dress, platforms, audience, style, words you use, length of content, audiences, leadership style, decisions, trends to hop on, topics to avoid, even music. You have so many personal ways that you can clarify and communicate your personal brand without even saying a word. Hey everybody, I'm Dacia Coffey and welcome to the Marketing Blender Show. Okay, seriously, what in the heck is a personal brand? How do you even go about personal branding? Why does it matter? Why do you have to do this? And my favorite, should you, if you're a leader, be a social CEO, or as a marketer, how do you get your leader to be a social CEO? Personal branding. So I'm super excited. I really do feel like this is wildly misunderstood. Also, we really layer loads of insecurities, baggage, nervousness, all sorts of stuff on top of this. And so I'm going to give you some tips about that. And I love this part because I have personally found, going through my own personal journey, which is nowhere close to done, but have made some big strides in this area, that it can unlock some really surprising outcomes. And I'm going to share some of those with you too. So first of all, what is a personal brand? It's how you are perceived. Let me be clear. Your personal brand is not what you think about yourself. It's not even what you wish you were, unless that's truly authentic and an extension of who you already are. Unless you're thinking, I just want to be a bigger version of me, that's not a personal brand. A personal brand is your combination of your natural gifts, experiences, personality, humor, energy, studies, background, passions, things you fight for, things you fight against, core values, heart, belief systems, how you dress, what you look like, how people are impressed or not impressed by you, everything distilled down into how are you perceived. Now, here's why it's important, because for most of us, we're just bumbling through life hoping other people perceive us how we want to be. Maybe we should flip that narrative and go, okay, where do I bring the biggest value? And how do I want to steward that value? And how can I make sure that when people interact with me, they got it right? And I did too, right? Because here's the interesting thing. Most everybody around you knows your personal brand, even if you don't, right? So let's take me for an example. I am very energetic. I am very passionate. I have a tendency to be a little over top sometimes. I love ideas. I love creativity. I even walk fast. I talk fast. I move with my hands. Everything. Like, I have a lot of movement in the world, and there's a lot of metaphors, not accidentally, in my entire life that has to do with speed and energy. But there was a point in my career where, because everywhere I go, there I am, I really took that energy for granted. And I didn't know to own that and to tap into that. Instead, it was something that I had really used as something I didn't like about myself. So when people said, oh, she talks so much, or, oh, she's a little over the top, or, oh, there she goes again, I immediately read those as criticisms. And I tried to calm my energy down. I tried to shrink who I was. And guess what that does? Nobody believes you. Nobody believed that that was me because they could already sense it. And it was just me being contained. So you end up being not trustworthy. So it's not even just about a lack of authenticity. It's about people's ability in this war on attention to know whether or not they can trust you as quickly as possible. So your brand is critically important. Also, it is a gateway, in my opinion and experience, to joy and significance and excitement and permission to be everything you were created to be. Because you are now deciding to go on a journey where you're going to own who you are, how you are, your quirks, your failures, your good stuff, your giftings, and you're going to seek to understand that and then distill it down so that people can understand that. It improves communication, and it gives you validation on where you should be serving in the world and why the heck you're even on this planet. So for me, why should you be investigating personal branding? Because that's the journey worthy of going on. So let's dive in to how do we build a personal brand? Personal branding gives you the ability to better tell your story. Stories are related to memorability. They're related to resonance. And obviously it's your story. So of course it's related to authenticity. And trust me, the world needs a lot better storytellers. But let me back up for just a second from you on this one. It's not about telling a single story or telling your whole narrative like a memoir. All of our choices tell a story about who we are and help people to subconsciously understand us and thus trust us faster because we're being honest, right? So what we wear, our style of speaking, our style of body language, the places that we decide to communicate, which social media platforms, do we use video? Do we use images? Do we use text? The style and tone of the words that we choose, including the visual narratives. So I mentioned how you dress, but I also mentioned what kind of photos do you show up in? Are you telling a story in your photos? There's so many things that you can deploy to your benefit that synthesizes and exaggerates the best aspect of your character, your heart, and your giftings. So I hope that didn't overwhelm you, because we are going to unpack you. Just because there's lots of tools that you can use to tell your story doesn't necessarily mean that they are required from a personal brand. And so let's think about that. Does a personal brand need a logo? No. Like, think about some of the most famous influencers in your environment and who you follow. Can you think of what their logos look like? Maybe one or two of them. If you ask most people what Mr. Beast's logo looks like, people would say, he has a logo, right? It's the same type of thing. Personal branding is a vibe. And again, it's how you perceived. So it breaks the rules of traditional brand strategy and instead gives you an arsenal that is more human and more relational that we need to dive into. So where do we begin if you're going to start getting really intentional to build your personal brand? Well, obviously, it starts with clarity, and I'm going to give you some super specific homework. But the reason that clarity is critical is, as I mentioned, personal branding is about how you're perceived. So we need to get clear about how you already are perceived and clear about why they perceive you. There might be something that is inauthentic in that list once you start doing the homework, and you need to root it out and you need to understand why, because it is something that you're deploying and you're just not realizing it. So all personal branding begins with clarity. Now, the cool thing is that this clarity is about your highest and best use. And this is really important. Take a note on this. The clarity is about what transformation do you create in the lives of others? Because you guys, your potential, whether it's your organizational potential as a social CEO or whether it's your individual potential as a career seeker, your potential is unleashed through your ability to create transformation in the lives of others. Think about that. Everything that you are, everything that's amazing about you has zero meaning if it's not in service of someone else. If you're a great writer, it doesn't matter if nobody reads it. If you're a great film producer, it doesn't matter if nobody watches it and enjoyed it. If you're an athlete, does it matter if there's not a competitor and if there's not a fan base rooting you on and encouraging you? And if there's not a coach, you can't be a coach if there's not a recipient of that mentorship and that experience. And that goes for every single thing on this planet. In God's ecosystem, we exist to serve one another, whether we're in awareness of it or not. So clarity around the transformation that you naturally and eventually intentionally create for other people is a game changer, because that's why people will want to pay attention to you, and it's what we need them to understand about you. And then next, clarity turns into decision-making criteria. So personal branding can be deployed for career advancement or job seeking. It can also be deployed for influence and passion projects. It can be deployed, of course, in organizational growth. It can be deployed in culture, in leadership, but that clarity becomes decision-making criteria. You are a complex, nuanced human being, but your brand is not. Right? So again, it is narrowing down the things that are self-evident to other people. Ironically, I know that's kind of a weird phrase, but the things that are so naturally evident about you, and tapping into that and then expanding them so that you can invite people into the giftings that you can use to serve them. So I promised you some homework, and we're about to get to that, but I would be remiss if I didn't speak to my social CEOs out there, or the ones that have the potential to be. So when you are a social CEO, you humanize your organizational brand, and this is critical. You guys, we are in a war on attention. Wah, 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 wah. There's just so much nonsense or watered down content. But when someone has the courage and the integrity to be on camera, or to say something, or to put something out there that people can disagree with or align with or ignore or anything, it takes so much to really put ourselves out there. But you can't own your voice in the world if you're not willing to do this. And the impact is dramatic. Let's think about social media. It's social. So if you actually think that the highest and best use of social media is your corporate page on LinkedIn, you are sadly mistaken, because social media was built so that individuals can follow other individuals. And we all have a natural curiosity and hunger to understand how leaders think, where they're coming from, what their authority is, and how did they get where they get. And don't undermine this by thinking, yeah, but we're not quite where I wish, or I haven't quite accomplished everything that I want to before I put myself out there. Your journey is worthy of followership, and sharing those lessons as you go can be incredibly powerful no matter where you are in your journey.
Hey, Marketing Blender listeners, we have something exciting to share with you.
Our traditional YouTube show and podcast is expanding. We're going to be doing deeper dives on career, technology, innovations, and the stories behind amazing campaigns on our show.
You know, sometimes we have these conversations that are incredible, amazing. They've got wonderful ideas behind them, but they don't quite fit within our traditional model here on The Blender Show.
Yes, a perfect example of that is career advice. We get a lot of questions about that. We also get a lot of questions about AI and how things are changing and what to expect. And sometimes the best stuff is what we didn't say on camera. So this new evolution is where these moments get their chance to shine.
Think of this as our creative workshop, where we get to explore everything from breaking into the marketing industry to innovative leadership approaches, even interviews with CEOs, but all within the high quality insights you've come to expect from the Blender team.
And the best part, everything's self-contained. Whether it's a single episode on a very specific deep dive, or sometimes we will be even doing mini series, you'll be able to get exactly what you want, when you want, where you want it.
You'll be able to find this as a playlist on all of your favorite platforms, the same place that you already get the Marketing Blender Show.
Oh, and tip, there is going to be some subscriber-only content, so little benefit for you that follow us every week.
So hit that subscribe button, stay tuned, and we'll see you guys soon.
So let's unpack being a social CEO a little bit more, because there are a few specific nuances. So you do need to be thinking about personal branding in regards to culture. And if you are the founder of your company, oftentimes your personal brand is a powerful influencer towards the overall brand strategy of your organization. Now, you need to make decisions on this, because sometimes that's super healthy, especially if you named a company after you or you have family legacy. That makes a lot of sense. But there are other times, my company is one of them, where my personal brand was so based on me that I needed to start untangling that from the Marketing Blender's brand so that the organization could have some breathing room, and so that other leaders leaders and other thought leaders inside of my organization could show up and take it to a whole nother level. So we had to be really, really intentional about undoing that. And now we have a positive halo effect where my brand helps the organization but doesn't limit it, and the organization's brand helps me because I'm starting to become known for what we have grown. But there can be some important intentionality if you are the founder or one of the founding family members of an organization. Also, it can help clarify your leadership style. So if this sounds weird to some of you guys, I want to share a little bit about, mine. I have read every possible leadership book you can imagine, and there was always this itch I couldn't scratch around them, where some of the advice, while sound or seemingly sound, just didn't fit me. I kept thinking, but I don't talk like that, and I don't structure my calendar like that, and I don't lead like that, and that's not what I'm known for. And so there was strict setting expectation type of themes that really just didn't resonate with me. And by going further into my personal brand and understanding why people followed me naturally and intrinsically, not just because I have titled authority over them, it was profoundly impactful for me to help understand and define my own personal leadership style. And it has really grown me as a person. I've learned specific phrasings and styles about crucial conversations, about setting accountability that became more authentic and natural to my coaching and mentorship style versus the things that are in the traditional leadership. And so there can be a lot of personal insights, especially if you, like me as an executive leader in a man's world, really did struggle to figure out, how do I lead all of these amazing, strong individuals without abandoning who I have always known to be and what I eventually want to be known for. And as an extension of your leadership style, you can have a voice for positive impact. For many of you watching the show, you have a purpose-driven brand. And so whether it's explicitly faith-based or whether it's simply really founded in strategically true core values, you represent positive impact in the world at large that can go far, far beyond the invoices. And so making sure that you're participating in that and thinking about the impact that you can have beyond the four walls of your organization can be incredibly powerful. And also, I want to challenge you on this as a leader. Don't be complaining about all the nonsense and the negativity on social media and the voices out there if you refuse to be one. You're abdicating your responsibility, especially since you already have a natural and built-in followership that deserves to be heard if you're a purpose-driven leader. Okay, moving on. Another thing about CEO social media is that people get very confused if you are outside of what they expect from you. So building that personal brand and distilling down the things that you're known for, and I'm going to give you a few leadership examples at the end of this podcast so that you can think on and kind of use them to reverse engineer your own. But I mentioned earlier, it builds trust faster. It can be really confusing. It can do harm if you are off in la la land because you didn't do the work to understand what are people able and ready to receive from you. It's not that you can never break your personal brand rules. It's that you have to have them in the first place to break them. Otherwise, you look a little loony. So making sure you know how you're perceived and what people want and expect from you can be a powerful place to start. And it also simplifies where to start instead of feeling overwhelming. I want to bring up one important aspect that goes back to humanizing the brand, but it's the word charisma. And I've spoken to so many of our clients and other CEOs that I've coached on becoming a social CEO, and they think, well, I don't have charisma. I don't have that big energy or that stage presence, or I'm not a natural public speaker, or I don't speak with my hands, or I do speak with my hands, et cetera, et cetera. Let me be crystal clear with you about charisma. Charisma is not about energy. It's not about polished words. It's not about a certain pace or a certain theatricality. Charisma is about going deeper and deeper into your authenticity. Two of my favorite speakers were dramatic introverts and who were not natural public speakers by their own admittance. One woman, though, was the kind that you just pray you got to sit next to her at the dinner table because she is so wickedly funny under her breath. And she was able to keep her introversion and her style, but then include memes and graphics and certain quirky things that she would do with her clothes or her slides that almost acted like a second aspect of her personality. And literally to this day, when I see her social media or when I get the rare occasion to get to see her give a presentation, it feels like sitting next to her at a supper club, and it's magic. And she didn't have to act like anybody except herself and simply unleash the magic that people already knew was true about her. And then another gentleman I watched, it was a pretty boring presentation, but he didn't have anything remarkable about his style. But you know what he did? He told the truth the whole time. So in the very beginning, he found little things about his personalities, like he loves memes. And it was a way to resonate with the audience. And he would sneak little memes into his presentation, even though he's not remarkably funny. And while his content wasn't surprising or interesting, but getting to see a little insight into his personality and some of his favorite things was profound. But what he did, it wasn't about the memes, you guys. It was about him telling the truth. And then he told the audience why he loved them. And then we could be along on the ride for his personality. So telling people the truth about who you are and what they can expect from you can really build amazing charisma, because charisma is very different than what you think it is. It's about going as big as possible and as honestly as possible in your authenticity. For the payoffs, we've got the homework that I'm going to give you. I'm going to share with you the decision-making criteria that you need to start outlining that you can deploy tactically. And then I'm going to share with you some great examples that will help you align with some of the decisions that you can make. So homework first. This is not in any given order, and you don't have to do all of it, although I do encourage you to do as much of it as possible. So in no given order, here are a couple things. Do your core value work. Text me or ping me in the comments and just say core values, and I will send you a pretty exhaustive list of core values, and go through and just ask yourself what's really resonating. You'll start seeing themes that develop that are true, or just grab a blank piece of paper and some thinking time. What are the things that you feel passionate about, that you stand for, and that you would fight against? Do your core values exercises. Another one of my favorite questions, and I do recommend this one be probably at the top of your list, think and ask yourself and write it down, or having conversation. Verbal processing is so helpful oftentimes. I want you to ask yourself, what do you hate? And I mean virulent physicality, physical reaction. What do you hate? It is amazing what answers, because very frequently there's only one or two things, and it will clarify for you what you fight against in this world. And it's going to get you very close to your natural calling and your natural purpose in this world. So I really love this question, even though it's a weird one. Another one, what do people ask your advice on, right? What are people always coming to you? I personally, ever since I've been a young kid, have gotten questions about writing styles and communication, how to say this, how to do this, how to tackle this. And so my advice has a tendency to be around great communication. And that's been consistent. And of course, it's grown over the years, but that's been consistent about me for my entire life. So don't just think professional, think all advice. If people come to you for relationship advice or something like that, there's a reason, and allow yourself to dive into what that reason might be and what it says about who people already know you to be. All right. What are your favorite movies? And I don't mean generic favorite movies. I mean, if you could only watch 2 or 3 movies for the rest of your life on repeat, what would they be? Then I want you to look at the main characters and the storylines. There's a very high likelihood that there's some pretty consistent themes, either in the hero and the journey they go on, or the overarching story. And it can oftentimes give you insight either to who you are and the role you play in life, or what you believe, or the kind of journey in life that you want to lead. So pay attention to your favorite movies. Okay, a couple other things. I love this piece of homework. I basically force everyone I work with to do this one, and everybody that I mentor, everyone that pays me for CEO coaching and communication coaching. I want you to text a minimum of 9 people, a minimum of 3 people in your personal group, in your personal life, people that love you and adore you, family, best friends, don't care. 3 people in your professional life. Don't care if it's from 20 years ago or from 20 minutes ago, a minimum of 3 people in your professional life and 3 people in your other, right? Neighborhood, extended friend group, softball team, church, nonprofit board. But all of these people should be people that really, really advocate for you and think highly of you. And I simply want you to text them and ask them, what are the 3 words that would use to describe my personality or my character if I was not in the room? And I want you to write them all down on a single piece of paper. And then I want you to look for themes. And I want you to not poo-poo the answers. I do not want you to go, that's boring. Believe them. They wouldn't use those words if there wasn't something powerful. And if you do get some curiosity, like, why are people saying that about me? Ask them, because their answers will be incredibly insightful. And it means you're probably sitting on a blind spot of an area that you are light and inspiration for the world on that. So let's go ahead and get those answers. Okay, and then I've got a couple. So describe your energy. There is nothing wrong with being an introvert. There's nothing wrong with being quiet. There's nothing wrong with being a talker. There's nothing wrong with any of it unless you judge yourself, right? You were given that personality, that style, that vibe on purpose. Write it down. No judgment, just write it down so that you can see it in context of everything else. And then I do have a few final formal ones. Sally Hogshead has a fascination assessment that gives you your personal archetype, and it is mind-blowingly fun. So it is a paid assessment, but if you're looking for a shortcut, it can be a really, really good one. It doesn't mean you get out of all of the other work, but it can really fast forward this journey, especially if you really struggle with this kind of work. I highly recommend this. The other one that I love is I love the Strength Finders assessment. Again, it is a paid one, but it will give you words that you've been taking for granted about yourself, and it will give you a deep dive into why these are important in the world and how you can deploy them to other people's transformation. So I love, love, love Gallup's 2.0 Strength Finders. And then Lencioni has Working Genius. So it's a little bit more of an organizational one, but it can help you with the role that you naturally play and what type of work is your highest and best use. And what I like about Working Genius is it's very simple. And you have comparing and contrasting where you can go, oh, this is my role. And then you can look at the other types of roles and realize how you're different and why your role matters. So I think it can be really effective, especially in team environments, but still even on a personal perspective. So that's your homework. I'm serious about this. Do the homework. This is decision-making criteria, because the challenge for you will be to start boiling it down. Can you find 2 or 3 words, only 1, 2, or 3 themes? Can you find the single through line of where your potency comes from? And it takes some work to do this. So the more input that you have, the more correlations that you'll see, and this becomes decision-making criteria. And if you're a social CEO or CEO, managing a CEO's social media, this becomes really important for helping them to capture ideas, capture their voice, and really be super authentic when they're communicating to strangers via social media platforms. So very, very important. It's worthy work, you guys. I'm not promising it's easy, but it is worthy. So there's the homework that I want to give you. Okay, so once you start narrowing it down, and you don't have to be perfect, but you need to start getting down and bounce ideas off of people. Start making safe bets, niche down as far as possible on your most resonant authenticity and your most resonant passions, right? And then start using those as decision-making points. What kind of things do you want to talk about? If there are trends or hot topics, which ones do you jump on and which ones do you not? They should align back with your authentic point of view. You shouldn't just be chasing anything. What are decisions that you can make in your physical appearance, meaning like your dress and that type of things that tells the correct narrative? I don't care if you're in a 3-piece suit versus being barefoot with a funny t-shirt, right? I don't care. It's about, is it authentic to you? And how can you use visual cues to tell your authenticity and to help people lean into you more fully because you're more believable? What do you speak up on? This also should be able to help you clarify your audiences. So if you're working with a social media team on who are we trying to reach, who are we trying to target, and what kind of topics should I be talking on, connecting the dots between what you bring to the world and which audiences need it the most can help you really, really accelerate your following with the more clarity that you get on this. And then I want you to think about it from a content perspective. Now, I could do an exhaustive list on this, but I'm just going to rattle off some. Yes, share your expertise, tell your expertise. But remember, there's experience behind that. So share behind the scenes, share the story, tell your story of how you came up with that expertise, break it down, teach, give an example. There's so many different ways that you can chop up expertise in regards to personal branding, right? I also want you to think about your excellence. So what comes naturally to you, and speak to that because it's already believable. It doesn't matter if you have credentialing. If it's something that people are already asking your advice for, there's a reason and everybody's aware of it except for you, right? Talk about your passions, talk about your projects, talk about what's going on, talk about your aha moments. Now, keep it inside of the lanes that you identified as the most resonant about you, but find ways to chop all of this up. And definitely keep notes or voice memos in your phone. I don't know about you, but some of my best thinking time is when I'm quiet in a car and so many ideas come to me. So definitely start collecting that and then hold it up against the criteria that you set as wholly authentic and as the distillation of what you want to be in your personal brand. And finally, if you know me, if it's not written down, it's not real. Document this. Document your decision criteria. Document your topics, pay attention to what's really resonating for people, and go bigger on the best videos or the best social posts or the best speaking presentations or the best audience experience. And then do a little bit of work to think, why did that go so well? Why did that work? And how do I simply give people more of what I have to offer in that way? Because that data is now telling you that you're really hitting on the clear inflection point on why people are going to love you. Okay, so that's how to align your examples. And so now let's dive into a few examples. I'm going to pull business examples. I'm going to pull some well-known ones, so don't roll your eyes. It's just easier to use well-known people because we understand them just like that because they have a personal brand. So I don't love, these is not about people I love or hate. I'm just going to throw out a whole bunch. So Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V, social media expert, high energy, somewhat controversial, but go, 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 go. He's a great one to look at. I don't love every single thing he says, but I understand him. I know what to go to for him, right? And he has really figured out how to almost turn himself into a caricature. And by the way, that is incredibly follow worthy if you can get so clear on your personal brand that you can create a caricature of your own personality and your own humanity. Elon Musk, immediately what comes up for you? He's brilliant, he's innovative, he's controversial, right? And so immediately we know who he is. It doesn't matter that he's a little quirky. It doesn't matter that he has that weird way of talking, right? But we immediately recognize, and we recognize anything about him because it's distilled down. Dave Ramsey, finance, leadership. He loves to give people a kick in the butt, right? So he talks boldly. He will call people out. He's also big on faith and family. So he makes no apologies, and he has figured out how to align that boldness with servant leadership and inside of the topics that he wants. And he's also learned how to create leadership around that and help other people with their personal brands. Joe Rogan, do I need to say more? He's strong, he's warm, he's approachable. Whether you agree with me or not, he gets everyday people that rarely give interviews, talking, and he gives them this space. He's open-minded, and obviously he's masculine. Nobody's surprised about who's watching 3 hours of Joe Rogan. It's mostly the guys, right? But that's his personal brand, and it's who he resonates with. And it came from an authentic place from him, guys. He never tried, never thought in a million years he was going to be the world's biggest and best podcaster, but he followed his authenticity and brought what was naturally good, his curiosity, and it really prospered him. Richard Branson, right? Like everything from the outflowing of his brands and all the companies that he's founded. He's adventurous, he's fun, he's high-spirited, he's optimistic, he's cup half full, and you can see it in every single touch point that he has. Warren Buffett, completely opposite, calm, wise, obviously around financial literacy and lowering risk and thoughtfulness. Again, the reason I'm giving you guys these examples is because their personalities are so different, and there is no single source of charisma. There's no perfect way to be. The perfect way to be is to be you and double down on it and stop apologizing for it and stop trying to change it. And if you're around people that don't like that, guess what? There's some more decision-making criteria from you. You ain't in your perfect tribe. So we shouldn't be there. A few other ones: Seth Godin, bald, but unique, insightful, interesting, thoughtful, deliberate, even the cadence with which he speaks and the, how he deploys his content as a marketer. Neil deGrasse Tyson, brilliant, science, mind-blowing, right? But still warm, eloquent, interesting, buttoned down. Sarah Blakely, brave, fun, successful. She talks about her family. She shows a lot of the background of her experience because her story is a perfect distillation of what she is. She doesn't have to tell you what she is. She simply doubles down on sharing her story so that you can go along in the rearview mirror with where she came from. Mel Robbins, blowing up as an amazing podcaster, right? She's honest, she's forthright, and she made her name on being honest about her biggest growth opportunities and her biggest failings. And that's highly resonant and specific to her. And again, not about style, but she's incredibly lovable. And then we've got Jordan Peterson as an example. Fast mind. Does he try to water down his words for you? No, because he doesn't have to. And it either magnetizes people or rejects, but he is incredibly resonant by simply not apologizing for his points of view, nor his brilliance, nor all of the academia and like the knowledge that he has gained over a lifetime from diving into this. So wide range. And I just wanted to kind of share those with you, and hopefully you can kind of think. And I would challenge you as a one final piece of homework: what are the words you would have used? What's the one sentence you would have used, especially on the people that are your favorite on that list? That's how distilled I want you to get it down to. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I am incredibly passionate about personal branding. Why? Because you're important. No one on the planet has your exact fingerprints, your spiritual fingerprints, your voice, your thoughts, your humor, your failings, your love, your family, your culture, your quirks, your annoyances, nothing. Everything that is you, giftings, education, skill set, background. There's not a single person on the planet that can be you. That's worth following. It's worth having a voice. There are people waiting to hear from you, and they don't know it and you don't know it unless you put yourself out there. And most mind-blowing, there's nobody in the history of the world that has ever been you, and no one ever will be. So if you don't use your authentic voice and do the work to advocate for yourself and to build confidence and significance in who you already are, it will always leave a permanent and detrimental gap in the universe and in this creation that we all live on. Why do that to your life, and why do that to the people that you could create intentional transformation from simply by being you? This world would be a lot happier and a lot kinder if we started by being happier and kinder to ourselves. So you guys, thank you. I hope you took notes. I would love to hear your questions and comments. I would pretty please love for you to hit that subscribe button and that like button. And that way I'll get to see you week after week with my special guests, or on my rants and raves like this, once a week on the Marketing Blender Show. So you guys, thanks again. Onward and upward.